that update on its own. But we let zpanel grab what it wanted. So if we would have started with 6.5, I can tell you from experience it would have failed miserably. And all kinds of nasty error messages and stuff in Verilog messages and all kinds of horrible things. So let's get back in here. Let's see what we've got. Network is up. First of all, let's see if we can get to zpanel. All right, it's a local host. Good. So it is running. It's just not running locally. Well, it's running locally. Let's try our ready. Oh, yeah, this is the other problem. Because it never gave me the opportunity to set the zadmin password, I've got to set it now. So, what we'll do, get out of this. So what's supposed to happen is the any install, and you saw that, you're supposed to get the opportunity to set the zadmin password. And there is one set. The problem is we never got to set it. I think that's a bug in the script. This is the third time this has happened to me since I've done this, but not all is lost. There is a procedure here. You see it's set zadmin, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set that password right now. So we'll open up a terminal. And then we'll try to do this. Set zadmin. And it's in clear text, but I don't care. This isn't in production. There we go. Now we should be able to get in. Let's try. And we're in. And you can see we have our page here. So look at the service status. So you got FTP, SMTP, POP3, all this stuff is running. The database. We haven't created a database yet, but we can. We probably will need to. But see, you have all the administration, all the modules here. Now, one thing I'll say, some of the stuff like FTP config, yeah, because we really don't have one. You'll probably have to do some manual configuration and dig in. This is one of the reasons why I like the desktop, because the FTP configuration file is going to be pro FTP, and everything's under zpanel. In fact, let's go look at that now. This is the other thing I like to have here. Look at the file browser. Now for testing, 127.0.0.1 is always going to work on the local VM or the local virtual machine when you're testing this, on the local CentOS OS install. That's the default loopback address. Now, if you're going to have this thing again sitting out there in public, you're going to have that public address in there. which was, you saw for mine was 72 whatever. For an internal NAT, you're going to need to have local access, mostly because you're probably coming through a firewall that's going to have to pass the traffic through it to a local server, unless you're doing a DMZ or something like that, which I don't know. Anyway, here I've set the address here, and what I want to do is I want to see if this thing works outside of the default loopback. So I'm going to get out my VirtualBox, which that's the right control key by default, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ping this address. Good. So I'm getting a reply back. Now this is not in the VM. This is just my normal desktop. Let's see if I can get the web page up. Before I do that, let's get this extra thing out of here. So what I'll do is I'll bring up a browser, put in the address. Oh, I put in the wrong address. There we go. And it's working. We can see our little admin. This is outside of the VM. This is just how someone would be logging in remotely to use it. And there we are. We're in. Now we can do whatever we want to do. We can add domains. We could set up FTP users, which would be right here with FTP accounts. You can tie FTP accounts to certain domains so that when people FTP'd in, they're working right within the domain. I don't get into reseller and stuff like that. I pretty much just set the domains. I pretty much use this for, this is going to be primary domain. This is going to be people who aren't going to be reselling any subdomains. So now what's important to note here is when you set this thing up and you get this up and running, and it's a hard thing for some people to understand. You're either going to use the default, the external IP that will pass through your NAT or firewall to get to this server for management, to actually get to zPanel, or you're going to have to set up something in a domain and on the internet, something .com, .net, whatever, and point at that IP, but it has to be or should be a domain that you're not trying to manage. If you're managing 4 or 5 different domains, you know, on the zPanel install, you really should pick another domain that isn't within that managed realm, because it's just going to give you all kinds of pain. Because this is basically set up with host headers. You don't do port forwarding or anything like that to get into to get into any of the domains you're hosting, any of the websites that may be on here. That's way old school anyway. You know, if you have test.com out there and you decide that your managing to be test.com, you're going to keep probably bringing up the test.com website instead of getting to the zPanel page, because it's going to pick it up and say, oh, that's for my domains I'm managing, and go right there. So it has to be something outside of that range. People talk about they could do subdomains and stuff like that. I haven't seen it work all that well. For one thing, it still exposes the IP, so you're just best off using a separate domain that isn't managed by any of the others. You know, you're just kind of asking for trouble anyway, because do you really want your admin for the entire server to be a subdomain of one of the servers one of the domains you're hosting? I don't think that's a great idea. So anyway, that's zPanel. That's the install. And you can see it's not too hard. I can start dropping directories left and right if I wanted to. In fact, I can, as I close, I'll actually show you. We won't do that. We'll just minimize it. I can actually show you a site that is currently in production. It's actually running on a production Z panel. We'll skip that. You can see this site is completely running, and it was actually imported from an old site. See, there's stuff here. Yeah, I know it's an ugly website, but who cares? So, see, it works. And if I wanted to actually get into that, to get to the page, I can actually get into it using another domain that I have set up that goes right to the zPanel login. So, anyway, that's about it. It's a little jumpy. We had a few bumps in the road, but you will have a few bumps in the road with this. I have not had a straightforward, easy install of this yet. With the having to do the curl installation, that kind of thing. If the curl installation doesn't work, there's a zPanel documentation that shows you an alternate way of doing it, which is basically a wget command, which will start the install for you without curl. So anyway, that's about it. Now you've seen what it's like. Go try it for yourself. Have a good one. I'm out.